Imagine walking into your workplace, confident and ready to make a difference, only to be met with judgment and disrespect based on nothing more than appearances. This is exactly what happened to a talented black nurse who was belittled and humiliated in front of her peers by a doctor who saw her as less than capable. Little did he know, the woman he tried to embarrass wasn't just a nurse. She was the medical director, overseeing the very hospital where he worked. In this story, we'll dive into how assumptions and prejudice led to a moment of public humiliation that quickly backfired. What started as a scene of disrespect turned into a powerful lesson about respect, confidence, and the dangers of underestimating someone based on stereotypes. Stay with us to uncover the full story behind this shocking encounter and the unexpected twist that left everyone speechless. The day started like any other. The nurse, known for her professionalism and dedication, arrived at the hospital prepared for her usual rounds. She greeted the staff with her warm smile, unaware that an encounter was about to unfold that would challenge her patience and dignity. The doctor, new to the team and eager to assert his authority, noticed her in the hallway and assumed she was just another nurse on duty. Without bothering to introduce himself or ask questions, he barked orders at her in front of others, his tone sharp and dismissive. Staff members around them exchanged uncomfortable glances, sensing the tension. Some knew her true role but remained silent, hesitant to intervene. As the doctor continued to belittle her, he clearly underestimated who he was speaking to. The nurse stood firm, quietly observing, waiting for the right moment. She had no need to raise her voice. Her authority would soon speak for itself. The doctor's words echoed through the hallway as he continued his condescending remarks, dismissing the nurse's calm responses as incompetence. He didn't realize that every staff member watching knew who she truly was. Some nurses exchanged subtle looks, silently debating whether to step in, but they knew she could handle herself. The nurse remained composed, her professionalism unshaken, even as the doctor's tone grew harsher. Meanwhile, whispers began to spread through the hospital. A few junior doctors, who had recently attended a leadership meeting led by the very woman being humiliated, started to gather nearby. They knew the truth but wanted to see how this would unfold. The doctor, oblivious to the growing crowd, continued to speak down to her, convinced he was teaching her a lesson. But the nurse didn't waver. She listened carefully, making mental notes of his behavior. Beneath her calm exterior, a plan was forming, one that would soon shift the entire situation. The hallway grew quieter as more people stopped to watch the unfolding scene. The doctor, still unaware of who he was dealing with, grew bolder, pointing out what he thought were flaws in her approach to patient care. His voice carried an air of superiority, his gestures exaggerated as if he were putting on a show. The nurse, still calm and collected, allowed him to continue. Her steady expression gave nothing away, but those who knew her well could sense the storm brewing beneath her composed exterior. A senior staff member, standing at a distance, debated stepping in but decided against it. He knew this moment wasn't just about correcting the doctor, it was about teaching a larger lesson. Then came the moment that changed everything. The doctor, puffed up with arrogance, crossed a line, making a dismissive comment about her role in the hospital. The nurse finally raised her head, locking eyes with him. The room seemed to hold its breath. Everyone knew something big was about to happen, but no one could predict just how powerful her response would be. The air in the hallway was thick with tension as the nurse finally spoke, her voice steady but commanding. She addressed the doctor with a quiet authority that caught him off guard, asking pointed questions about his understanding of hospital protocols and teamwork. The doctor stammered, momentarily taken aback, but quickly regained his bravado, doubling down on his dismissive attitude. He scoffed, claiming that he'd been working in medicine long enough to know how things should run. That's when the first twist hit. A hospital administrator, drawn by the commotion, stepped into the scene. She greeted the nurse with the utmost respect, referring to her as Doctor last name. The doctor's face faltered as he glanced between the two women, confusion creeping in. But before he could process this, the nurse's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and calmly informed the group that she had to leave. She was due at a board meeting to review staffing decisions, including his probationary period. The doctor's arrogance quickly turned to unease. The crowd murmured, some staff exchanging knowing looks. As she turned to walk away, she paused, looking back with a hint of a smile. "We'll finish this discussion later," she said, leaving everyone, especially the doctor, wondering just how much more she knew. Later that afternoon, the doctor sat in the conference room, nervously shifting in his seat. Word had spread quickly about what had happened, and he realized he might have made a serious mistake. As the meeting began, the medical director walked in, the same nurse he had humiliated earlier. She was no longer in her scrubs but wearing a sharp suit, her presence commanding the room. The doctor's confidence drained as she took her seat at the head of the table. She opened the meeting with a calm but firm tone, addressing various hospital matters before finally turning her attention to him. Without raising her voice, she outlined her observations about his conduct, citing not only their earlier encounter, but also reports from staff about his behavior. The tension was palpable as she emphasized the hospital's values of respect and collaboration. The doctor tried to defend himself, but his words faltered under her measured gaze. Then came the twist. Instead of immediately dismissing him, she proposed a mentoring program where he would work closely with her team to rebuild trust and learn leadership skills. The room was stunned. It was a chance for redemption, but it also ensured he would be directly accountable to her. As the meeting ended, she approached him, extending a hand. Medicine is about healing, not just patients, but ourselves too. I hope you'll take this opportunity seriously. Her words were both a challenge and an invitation, leaving him, and everyone watching, with a lasting lesson on humility and growth. As the barista counted the unexpected tip, gratitude filled the room, creating a sense of unity among the customers. "Thank you," they said, their voice cracking slightly as they glanced at the group of regulars. The coffee shop buzzed with renewed energy, the tension from Karen's outburst fading into something warmer. An unspoken bond among strangers who had come together in the face of an uncomfortable moment. Meanwhile, outside the window, Karen's pacing grew more frantic. Her animated gestures and sharp tone on the phone hinted at a conversation that wasn't going her way. A few customers exchanged knowing glances, but resisted the urge to gawk. Instead, they returned to their conversations, lats and laptops, letting the moment pass. The barista, now buoyed by the crowd's kindness, turned to the next customer with a bright smile. "What can I get started for you?" they asked, their voice carrying a sense of triumph. The incident was over, but the memory of how the room came together lingered, a reminder of how small acts of kindness can transform even the most challenging moments.